There are two big numbers to start with when we think about how Democrats pulled off these big wins that we saw in Tuesday's elections around the country. The first, 15%. That's the margin of victory that Abigail Spanberger, the Democratic candidate for governor in Virginia, won in her race.
Virginia chose pragmatism over partisanship. We chose our Commonwealth over chaos.
And 13%. That was the margin of victory that Democrat Mikey Sherrill won in her campaign for governor in New Jersey.
Here in New Jersey, we know that this nation has not ever been, nor will it ever be, ruled by kings.
Those are really big numbers, and they take those two races in these marquee elections out of the realm of being close, marginal Democratic wins that don't tell us a lot, to being really strong wins and crushing defeats for Republicans. Let's talk about two ways that Spanberger and Sherrill won, and Zoran Mondani, the Democratic socialist who won the office of mayor in New York City.
The future is in our hands. My friends, we have toppled a political dynasty.
All three of them ran on a campaign of affordability, making everyday life more affordable for people who live in those states and in New York City. And they made that argument at a time when Democrats are arguing that Donald Trump promised to bring down prices, but hasn't. And when polling shows that voters give low marks to Trump for his handling of the economy and inflation. This had been a real weak spot for Democrats in 2024. Voters were angry at the high inflation economy of the Joe Biden years. And Donald Trump, the businessman president, persuaded Americans that he could use his business savvy to lower the cost of living for Americans. Well, a year later, polling shows that Donald Trump gets very low marks for handling the economy and handling inflation, and Democrats argue that he hasn't followed through on his promise to make life more affordable.
Yes, Republicans are the minority party, but that means also being the loyal opposition and continuing to ensure that our voice is heard.
Now, how did Republicans lose? Let's start with Donald Trump and his job approval rating, because it looks like that was a big factor here. Polling of the election showed us that in New Jersey, Trump's job approval rating was 42%. And in Virginia, only 40% of voters who participated in the election gave Trump a positive job approval rating. And as it happens, the Republican candidates for governor could not outrun Trump's job approval rating. Another thing Republicans need to think about is what's happening to their coalition. They came out of the 2024 elections thinking that they had made big strides toward an important goal. Rather than being a party that relies solely on the white working class, they made strides in becoming the party that has a multiracial, multi-ethnic working class constituency, because Latino voters, black voters, and other minority voters, as well as young voters, shifted remarkably toward the Republican Party last year. Well, today we're learning that that trend seems to have not only abated, but reversed. We see Latino voters and black voters shifting back to the Democratic Party compared to where they were just a year ago. It's a long way to the midterm elections. A lot's going to happen between now and then. For one thing, the tax cuts that Republicans passed under Donald Trump's one big beautiful bill, as he called it, will soon kick in. That may influence voter views. Another thing to keep in mind is that some of the Democrats on Tuesday had pretty weak opponents. In Virginia, the Republican candidate didn't rally her party behind her, didn't get a lot of donations or support from Republicans. And in New York, Zoran Mondani had the benefit of running against two candidates who seemed to have split the opposition against him. But in swing districts, in the races for House, and in swing states for the races for Senate, Republicans are going to have to decide, based on what we saw today, whether it's better to embrace the MAGA agenda and try to bring out Republican voters, or to move to the middle. At least in New Jersey and Virginia, being identified with the Trump agenda was not very successful today.